The next step is setting in this guard. If you punched it, you would see a punch where I have it marked here. To do that, what I like to do is use my rounding hammer again over a round part of the anvil, and I'll actually hit and I'll pull metal in this direction. I'll add metal to that guard area, and I'll start the beginning of my bevel. Once I've done that, I'll hold the knife over the horn of the anvil at an area that's approximately the size of my index finger, and I'll smash it down and I'll create that guard area. So at this point, guys, we need to make a decision. Do you want a half twist or do you want a full twist? In order to do a full twist, you just forge a blade like so, where the blade, the edge is in line with the longer part of the head of the spike. If you want to make a half twist, you forge it just the opposite. So the long part of the spike is pointed that way and your bevel is on this side. And here we go. We're going to set up for that guard. I think this knife is looking like it wants to be a bevel this way so that'll be a half twist. Make sure I know where my mark is. And I'm going to start drawing that metal out. You can see that as I'm hammering, I'm pushing. And when I have it in this direction, you see that I'm pulling. So as you can see, when I'm hammering in this direction, I'm pulling the metal towards me. And when I flip the knife over, I'm pushing the metal in the other direction. This blade will make a full twist. I'll just make sure I know where I'm aiming for a guard. And I'll do the same process. I'll just draw that metal out. You want to do this evenly on both sides. All right, guys, so you see how I try and keep it very even in here. From the side, you just see a kind of an odd hump right there. But that's what's going to form our guard. All right, guys, at this stage, we're going to forge in the guard over the horn of the anvil. So I've got my mark, got my placement. I'm going to give it a good whack, and it creates that little depression right there. And I've got all this meat on top that I can use. I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to keep striking that area until I'm happy with the depth that I have. And it's important to index it, come back and land in that same groove. You don't want to just bang away and you might come off that area. So I'm too cold now, but you get the idea. We're forging in that guard. Same thing on this blade. I'm just doing this so I'm more precise. Over the horn of the anvil. Put my first depression in. Index that depression. You see it swaying the blade back a little? We're not worried about that at this point. You can straighten it up when it's hot. So bringing my first blade out of the fire, making sure it's straight. I want to see a bit more of a guard on there. And I'll straighten it up before I get it back in the forge. But I'm pretty happy with that. We'll work with it a little bit more, but we're right in the ballpark there. I'm switching sides because the horn is not a perfect cylinder. It's a taper. And if I just worked one side, I would just be working a taper. I wouldn't have a symmetrical guard forged in. So I'm going to flatten this down while I've got a little heat in it. And let's put it in the fire. I'm going to seat this guard one more time here. So I'm happy with that. I'll get this blade back into shape. So, what we've got here is our guard roughly forged in. What I want to get rid of is this little hump right here. I want it to start there and taper out. What I'll do in this next step is I will hold the blade like so over the anvil, and I will come up and down with my hammer right here. And I will knock that in, creating a taper that meets at the bottom of that guard.